obsessed with his collections.
Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John, and this video is going to be a bit of a different one. I first had the idea about it a while ago, and it was spurned on by the fact that I've been talking about this film, or should I say this release, quite a bit recently. Any chance to look at this, I'm there. Big thanks to Michael Witchy for setting me up with this. It's absolutely incredible. Now, the thing I'm going to talk about today is going to be just a bit of a chat, and I'm going to show some films here. Now, if I haven't got, I've got some films picked out here, and if I haven't got the actual one where the cover is the one, the cover that is the one I remember, I will put it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. So the idea behind this video is, when I think about the video libraries, when I used to go to the video libraries incessantly in around about 1984, 85, probably more 85 to 86, 87 and onwards, it was like a treasure trove. You could not believe how much of an amazing event it was to go to the video library and pick out some of the most amazing films. More about this one in a minute. This is not one I'm going to talk about on here, although I'm showing it to say that, when you saw stuff like this, you just had to go and get it. Now, a bit of a short story about this was that when the video nasties came out, I knew about them, and I knew there was some that I saw on the shelves, and there was some I saw either posters in the front window of the video shops, but I never actually got around to getting them. There was only a couple, I would say, of nasties that I got my hands on. And also, it was such a shame that I couldn't have been there a couple of months earlier, because even though I was round about, I would say, 15-ish, there was no way that anyone would check you when you went to the video shops and you says, "Can I have that, please?" And they would say, "Yeah, no problem." They would never say, "How old are you?" There was no certifications, there was no age thing on it. They basically just didn't care less. You could just get anything you wanted. It was madness, actually, but it was the best kind of madness, because when you're a kid, you thought, "I can't believe that this is happening. That I can just walk into a shop and say, 'Excuse me, can I have that?'" They go, "Yeah, there you go." I don't know how much it was, 75 pence. There you go, ta. And you could watch this as many times as you could fit in before you handed it back, which is probably about five. You would stay up all night and watch this. So you would watch it 5 times. But unfortunately, I missed out on this one. But in this video, I'm going to go through the ones when I used to go to the video shop and I used to see these ones on the shelves. These are the ones that stick out to me. Now, when I saw that, unfortunately, this one was just not there when I went. I knew about it, but the whole video nasty thing had happened just before I became really interested in getting the stuff out. I think I didn't get a video cassette recorder until November 1985, so I'd missed it by then. But I did go to my friend's house or in school, more about that in a minute, and we did go and see these crazy titles that we just couldn't believe that we could just watch anytime. And usually at my friend's house is where I'd have my first try of the video nasties, because they were everywhere until they weren't. But you couldn't get them in the video library when I went. But these ones I've got here, I've selected some ones. It's probably more there, but when I went looking around the shelves, these are the things that I remember looking at and getting out the video library time and time and time again. I'm sure that people here, when you're watching this, you will say the same thing. So leave a comment down below, or actually go and make your own video and say, when you were in the video shop, what was the things that you used to see on the shelves which made you go for them time and time and time again? Because some of these ones I will get out incessantly. And I picked a handful here and I go through them and I'll tell you a little bit about what they were, and I'll put up there. If I haven't got the real covers on here, I will put them on up there. And also what I will do, I'm not going to rank these ones, but the last one I'm going to show is the one that, because I thought when I was looking for these titles on the shelves, the first one I went to was going to be the last one you see. And this is the one, it might not, you might not think that one, but it's the one that reminds me most about going to the video library, and just, I must have got this out time and time again. Ironically, I don't think I watched it for a while, but after talking about this, I think I will have to get that one rewatched, because I love that film, even though I haven't seen it for quite a while. So that's a little bit of an introduction to this video. Basically, when I think of video libraries, I think of these films, and consequently, if I'm looking at these films or I go past them, the first thing that pops in my mind is when I used to go down to the video library, used to get them out. The thing is, when you see them, it's the covers. Even though you'd seen them, you know all about them, you probably had them out maybe a couple of days before. The covers just throw you back in. There was just something about it. That whole time was like a time like no other. And it was a fascinating time to go through because I don't think this will ever happen again, obviously. And if you were there at the time, it was a time that has a special place in your heart, I would imagine, because you just these things transport me back to those times, those heady days of the mid 80s, where life was completely different back then. And these things were highly sought after. So let's see what they are. So first up, as I said at the start of this video, as I used to walk past the video library before I had my own video player, there was a poster in the window that completely caught my attention. And sadly, when I went to get it, maybe months later, it was long gone because of the video nasty outrage. And it was the Driller Killer. When you saw this, this is the cover that I saw. When I saw this cover or poster in the window, I was like, I mean, the poster of this in the window in 1984, it was madness, wasn't it? But you thought, I have got to see this. You couldn't believe what was shown. You couldn't believe that this was a thing. I don't think I'd ever seen an effect like this in any sort of film before that. And I was big into me horror. Used to watch it all, the Hammer horror, the Universal ones, anything that was on TV late at night, used to go to. But this stuff was next level. You had never even got any idea that this could be a thing. But I remember stopping and staring at this countless times. So this cover or poster is the first thing that got me thinking, I have got to get into that place and see what this is all about. Sadly, I missed the boat on this one. I did catch a few video nasties after that, which I'll go into on this video. But this was the thing that thought, I have got to start watching this stuff because this is like something I've never seen before. This is going to be an experience, and it certainly was. Although I didn't see the Driller Killer for a lot of years after this. But that was the first time that I thought, I'm going to have to look into this. So speaking of video nasties, the one that I remember getting out probably the most, and this is crazy because the next two coming up is ones that were fully uncut. I got the fully uncut versions out. You could just go and get them. I don't know why I was able to get these ones. Actually, I do know, because I got these in 1983 before the ban happened. And the reason why I got them before the ban happened, and I've heard a few people talk about this in the comments, is that when you're at school, in your lunch breaks, the teacher says, there's 50 pence, go and get someone out of the video library. She used to go around the corner to the shops, video library there. I'll have a couple of them, used to come back and they used to watch them when you used to get back to the chemistry labs. So the one that we used to get out probably more than other ones is, well, there's two we used to get out religiously, and I couldn't believe that we were allowed, and it was just put on. The girls were screaming, we were laughing our heads off. So the first one of two is The Burning. Put this on, and the thing was, what would happen is somebody would have seen this one and they would have says, get this one out because there's all this stuff in it. So we were acting as if we hadn't seen it before. So we used to go back to the thing and says, oh, sir, we've got this one out. What's that like? Don't know. Looks like something to do with school, anything, and just like play it down. And then we'll put it on. The teacher would sometimes get his notebook and put his notebook over it, especially for the nudity. And you say, oh, you can't see that. But anything violence on it, you just say, hey, like that's, we're all laughing. And the lasses are screaming. Some of them are about the fact of what's on the screen. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine this in this day and age where you can't really do anything, can you? But that was crazy to let that happen. But that was one of the best things about being able to in 1983, long before I got my video recorder, to be able to just walk into it. Like I say, we're walking in with school clothes and saying, "Can we have that for 50 pence?" No problem. There you go. And then we should just take it back the next day on my break and probably get someone else out. So that was one that we went to all the time, a couple of times, and also the other one that we went out to, obviously, is going to be The Evil Dead. Big shout out to Michael Ritchie, who has, and I'm not exaggerating this, has one of the best collections of the Evil Dead memorabilia that you will ever see in the world, and that is no exaggeration. As I've done before, I'll leave a link down to the live stream that me and Nige did with Michael Ritchie, and he was taking us through the stuff. We were agog at the stuff that he showed us, and it was just the tip of the iceberg, and the things he's got are unreal. We couldn't believe what we're seeing, even though we'd seen some of it before. But big shout out to Michael for the Evil Dead, and also Zombie Flesh Eaters. But this one was a no-brainer because we had all seen this one. This is one of the ones that, as kids, it was that were got out, and you'd go around to someone's house and it'd probably be on Betamax. Everyone seemed to have Betamax for some reason. And my first one was a VHS. I never had Betamax. I think VHS had won the war by the time I got my one, my player. From Rediffusion, it was on loan. It was like, you would pay a certain amount, and I was the only one in the house, in my grand's house, that had a video player. Crazy, isn't it? So yeah, this was, we knew all about this one, and we played this one down. The Evil Dead, teacher's going, The Evil Dead, Mr. Flynn. He said, really? I said, what's the man? It's just a horror film. There's nothing that bad in it. That bad. I mean, obviously, it wasn't fully uncut because, as you know, the pre-cert was cut, but not the scenes with the tree and all that. That was, the talking point scenes. All the gore was in, pretty much. And yeah, this raised some eyebrows. And wow, the fact that we could get these out of the video library at that time in school uniforms and put them on in the second period of the day and just sit there, bunch of kids, lasses screaming, the teacher probably laughing as well, only covering up a few scenes, and we just had such a blast. What a day, what a time that was. And this is why, obviously, after that, I couldn't wait to get a video recorder to do that and have these things at hand. So that's probably the way that the fire was lit for me to say, I have got to get more into this. I can't wait to get my own collection, all that type of thing. As I imagine most people who are like collecting stuff migrated into the VHS arena and thought, this is where I'm going with this one. And to this day, I haven't stopped, have I? But anyway, so yeah, so the Evil Dead, so there are a couple of video nasties that I remember and thinking, this is great. Now, another one that's not really so much a video nasty, but one that I remember getting out, and it was so over the top. It was a one that we had to, it was word of mouth. You've got to see this film because of the gore in it is unreal and the violence. And we thought, yeah, of course. Usually there was somebody who would be able to get these out. Word of mouth would pass it around, and then that be pass around, and you would get it. If you were lucky enough, you would catch the remnants of the video nasty outrage, and you would maybe snag a copy of this one. I think I did get this one at the video library a couple of times before it disappeared. It did come back out, cut up, and we just left it alone because why would you? That's what happened to all these ones, Evil Dead, all that type of thing. But anyway, the one that we got out, we could get out more than any other ones, more than them ones, when I had my video recorder, is the Exterminator. This was, it was unreal because the special effects, it was quite nasty. And the things that happened, especially at the start of it, I was thinking, this, I've never seen anything like it. Can this even be a thing? How did they do that special effect? That you know what I mean, at the start of it. And this was a one that we used to, it was you used to go to someone's house. I imagine most people have this experience. You go to somebody's house and they would say, right, let's go to the video library, what we're going to do. So you'd all club together your 10 pences and you'd say, right, what we're going to see. Now, people would say, well, what about this? What about that? Let's see if we can get the Evil Dead. Let's see if we can get this. Usually you can't get any of them stuffs, but the Exterminator was always mentioned. And I would, even though I'd probably maybe seen it, 10, 15 times. And this one was like one of the ones that everybody used to get out. Well, us lot, because we were just into watching sick films. Although I don't think this is too sick. It was at the time for us, and we couldn't believe the special effects, as I said. So the Exterminator was one that seemed to be a one that was one we could get our hands on quite easily at first until it was recut, which we didn't touch with a barge pole, obviously. But it was one, as I said, when I walked past the shelves and I've looked and I've just seen these ones that just jumped out, and these are the ones that remind me more of the video libraries, probably than really sadly the video nasties. They didn't have too much of an experience in them, but these ones were the ones that were really went for. Some of these ones you're going to be thinking, wow, that's not really horror, not really whatever, but it just reminds me so much of the video library, that the smell of it, the look of it. They were always dark. I don't know what it was. It was just like a different world. You would go in and nobody really talked to each other. Nobody really said what you're watching, what you're watching. You just went in, put your head down, looked and thought, I'm going to get me hold of that. You were like snagging things that you got. You wanted to get the best. You wanted to get the best viewing experience, and you were hoping that nobody would get it. It would be on loan all the time. So yes, so the Exterminator was definitely one that's really stood out at me. So this next film, which I talked about quite a few times on my channel, is what I consider to be a time capsule. I got this film out a lot of times, to rent, but I knew I had to buy this. This was the first ever VHS that I bought on sell-through for £29.29 on my birthday in 1985, and it is The Elephant Man. So this VHS tape is the same as Zombie Flesh Eaters. It just takes me back to them days when I used to look at it. This on the shelf, even I knew what it was because I saw it at the cinema before I got it out at the video library. I knew that it's just the look of it. Even when I'm walking past, and I know that I might have seen this, like say with most of these, you walk past it and you can't leave it. You've got to say, oh, it's not it. Like if it's out, if it's not out, you think, I'm going to get that out. I'm going to watch it again. The amount of times that you would rewatch these films was like nuts. Looking back on it, I don't know how much money I would have spent there. I mean, everything's relative. It probably wasn't that much today, but in the scheme of things, it was pretty much everything I owned was going in the video shop, money wise. So back in 1985, to pay £29.99 for this video cassette seems nuts. But these were, you could not buy these cheap. This was a birthday present, and it was one that I cherished. I mean, I've still got it now. It still would play. It still is in playable condition with no mold or anything like that, which sadly happens to these VHS that do deteriorate. That's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But this one here, every time I look at it, I think I might put this on these shelves, because this thing needs to be just looked at more than it being in the cupboard. But the fact is that I've got it, it transports me back. And I would imagine that there's no better feeling to have something just you can just go past and just think and get transported to a different time in your life. Well, a completely different time in the world where things were completely different than they are now in a much better way, I'm going to say. But yeah, the Elephant Man, this is one of my go-to things in my collection that I get such a blast from just even looking at it. I mean, the film is exceptional. It's out in glorious 4K now. It looks unbelievable. The VHS doesn't look, it's very dark, but to have it and play it whenever I wanted to, this got a hammering when I got it. But yeah, the Elephant Man, absolutely incredible. So going back a bit to Video Nasties, what I'll do is with this one, I'm looking at the stuff here, I'm looking at the time, I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to split this into two. The reason why, another thing is when I buy these things, when they come out in Blu-ray, I get a buzz from seeing these things coming out, and I think I can't believe that there's certain releases coming out, because I remember that whole transportation thing. I remember how I felt when I first saw this one, or first saw it in the video library, got it out, watched the film, loved the film, and then lo and behold, it's coming out in a great edition. And there's no better feeling to pick that up and then revisit it. And usually, 9 times out of 10, when you go back to them, you do get that, you do actually think of them in a great way. You don't put them on most of the times and think, oh my God, what was I thinking of when I watched that first time around? So anyway, couple more, and then I'll leave this as part one, and then part two will be out pretty soon because I've got a lot of them still to talk about. And also, as well, I don't think that's the end of the list because this is just me on a first glance. Although the last one I'm going to talk about on here is going to be the one that really reminds me of a video library more than any other film that I've got, because I immediately thought of that one when I thought about doing this video. But speaking of video nasties, as I said, this contamination, we got this out. This was a funny one. I do think that this might have been like a section 3 video nasty, so it was on the shelves. The cover was very gory, which I haven't got in this one, unfortunately. But the gory cover with these chests exploding was, there. It was a funny one because with it being section 3, I think, although it had a section 3 feel about it, like sometimes it was on the shelf, sometimes it wasn't. If you went to certain video libraries, they were quite laid back about what they put on the shelves. Other ones, you didn't find anything. Occasionally you'd find The Exorcist on there, which was not a banned video nasty, but it was it wasn't a section 3 either. It was just put there and people didn't like the look of it, so they would take it off, and they would think if the police come in, they'll have us for having this on their shelves. But some people didn't care less. It was weird, a weird time, as I keep saying. But Contamination was another one that was kind of like a borderline video nasty, and you just think that if you want blood and gore, even though the film was a bit stupid, but I love this film. It is nuts. But the chest bursting scenes are brilliant. Brilliant special effects, I think. Just tons of gore, tons of blood. Although it's 15 now, these ones do get marked down quite a lot. That's just the way it is. I do think that it was a knee-jerk reaction to have this whole video nasty thing in the first place, because it was just strange to have some titles, especially when you look through them and you think this was a video nasty, or they thought this like the thing, just because it had a bit of a grotesque cover. You can't believe it, can you? But it happened. But yeah, so the contamination was the one that we got out frequently, and we could get that one out. And this was on the shelves a lot longer than most of them. I mean, the big ones like Zombie Flesh Eaters, Driller Killer, Burning, forget it. They were long gone. And you, at that time, if you were walking down the street next to like a policeman and you were waving around Zombie Flesh Eaters, you might have got your colour out, that's for sure. So contamination. And the last one, which I'm going to say is going to be my number one title. Now, that's a bit of a spoiler alert for the next video. You're going to know that you've already seen the top number one of the one that reminds me more than anything else about video libraries. As soon as I look at it, I remember the smell of it. I remember how dark it is. I remember where this thing was. This thing used to be on the top shelf. All the horror was. And when you went into the video library, walked through the door, actually me and Deborah walked past it the other day, and I said, that's the video library. She says, I know you tell us every time we walk past. And I says, well, there you go. I'm going to tell you every time for the rest of your life. So there you are. So when I looked at it, you look and you went, there's like I'll put a picture of it here, the shop now. The front door, you went through it. And then you had the window, which has all the posters on it, and the sort of like start like mark what they're called maquettes, or that it has advertisements for up and coming films. If I got that right, I probably got it all completely wrong, probably butchered it, but you know what I mean. So that was what, and it was pitch black apart from the when you went into the it was lit up, the posters, and that was it. So you went in, it was pitch black. As you went in, straight in front of you was the desk where you used to go to the bloke and say, "Yeah, can I have that? How old?" Why didn't you say how old you were? You would give them anything. But this is after the video nasties thing. But even so, you could still go in and get anything you want. And after the video nasties, I might have been about 16, 17. Couldn't care. Anything that was there, but there was nothing I would consider extreme. This was quite gruesome. We used to find out, I'm sure other people like this, you used to go and you used to find out the ones that you could get through the net that weren't too horror. There were horror stuff and had loads of gore in it, but there might be a bit comedic in it as well. So you could they would put them on the shelves and wouldn't think too much about, even though the cover for this was one of the best covers I've ever seen, even though the cover's not on this particular release. But I put a picture of the cover that was when you saw it and thought, I'm on that one. So yes, so getting back to that one, I'll not make this too long because you're probably sitting there asleep at this point. So I used to go in, used to say to the bloke, I don't know why this place was the best place. So as you were talking to him, if you turned around and you've got the window, and then next to the window there was a short section before you went to the corner. So the top corner in there's your door. The top corner there was the place where you got all the gold. Or I don't know if the bloke just done it on purpose. He would put what he might have considered, although he never spoke to anybody. He might have put the best ones in that corner. So you would go to the top corner and you would have a look in there and you would see the ones if this come up, and you hadn't seen it. If it was up there, you were getting it. And this thing, it was the first thing I used to always look in that corner. That was the first thing I used to do when I used to go in. And I used to hope there was none of them were out, and you would see this one. All out of all these ones, the number one that would make me remember the whole video shop experience is the Deadly Spawn. Now, you might say to yourself, this is a bit of a letdown, but it's not really, because the Deadly Spawn was a film that we used to get out, time and time again. Now, if it was 5 people in the group that were going to get some stuff out and 3 people hadn't seen it, there was no time when this was got out that the 3 people who hadn't seen it didn't think it was a good film. And then it kind of snowballed, because when you used to go to someone else's, maybe 2 of us from then had seen that. And there was another 5 people who hadn't seen it. So we said, get the Deadly Spawn out if it was there. And this used to be available more than any of these other ones. It is quite gruesome, it is quite gory. I know it's only a 15 on here. This is the DVD. And I know there's a Blu-ray out there. and the elements are pretty low in this. I don't think they'll ever get any elements out to put a 4K out. I would love them to do a 4K, but sadly at this point I don't think that's going to happen. I'd love Vinegar Syndrome to do this one. I know it's been put out in the US, but I have heard that the Blu-ray isn't too much different from the DVD, so I'm more than happy with this one, even though I haven't watched this for a bit. But I will have to go back to this one and watch this quite soon because I really, really enjoy this film. It's so good. It's so cheesy. It's, you see, as well, when I talk about Vinegar Syndrome and talk about my love for cult, maybe rubbish films. People think they're rubbish, but I think they're brilliant. This is this is that film. This is that feeling in a nutshell about how I feel about cult films, so bad the good films, tacky effects, maybe shoestring budgets, films that were shot when you couldn't really see what was going on because it was so ineptly shot. But there's something about it that make you want to go back and back with it, back to back with it. So is that a thing? Back to back? Back to back. I haven't got a clue. Go back to it. Michael.
Where's me ladders?
So for me, just talking about these films and then talking about just my thoughts on this could be where my love for this type of film has come from. Vinegar Syndrome put out tons of films like this, and I enjoy them all immensely. Even though a lot of people say it's sort of trash, and I say, yeah, it is, but there's just something about it. That's what I can say about this film. I can say this. I can understand why someone would hate it, but I do know that the people I was with, the kids that I went to, the video library with, when the word of mouth got around about this one, we used to go out, we used to get this one, and everybody who saw it had a great time with it. Maybe we were young and we just thought anything was good that was got to do with blood and guts and all that. But I do think that this has maybe fashioned me in my love for the cult stuff. And yeah, so that's a revelation to myself. Anyway, so that's number one. This one that was up in the corner with that cover is the one that really reminds me more than any other film. I mean, I have got other films out that I have enjoyed more than this. I've got more films out more times than this. But if I had to pick one title that brings back, if someone said to me, says, I've got a film for you, Deadly Spawn, have you seen it? The first thing would say video shop in my head. That would be my first thing. I'd be transported instantly back to them time and that feeling. So has anybody else got one of these where you can say there's one film that above any other film that transports me back to those times in the VHS library, whether it be a video nasty, whether it be after a fact, maybe it might be years later, maybe it didn't go to the video library until the 90s. But there's one title there that you looked at and thought, I have got to see that, and maybe went back to it time and time and time again before you could actually buy these things and have them in your house. I did used to have the Deadly Spawn on a VHS, but I don't think it was the actual Video Nasty one. I'm saying Video Nasty. It wasn't a Video Nasty. The original one. I would love to get, I think that cover, if this ever got released properly in some kind of collector's edition, which I would love them to do, that cover needs to be on it or a slipcover version and have that on it as well. So that's that. So if you want to make a video like this, go ahead. If you want to do a thing like your experiences in a video library, maybe you've got some funny stories about video libraries, put it down in the comments. And also, if you want to do a video about it, you're more than welcome. I'd love to see them. I'd love to see how the video libraries have shaped I mean, you can look at this lot and you can say it to yourself, especially the stuff I'm talking about as well. You can see this common thread of these things that were there there's no way, shape or form that this hasn't shaped my life or my buying habits or my thoughts on films. I would say 90% of my enjoyment and the way that I select stuff and the way that I buy stuff and the way that I'm drawn to stuff, even though I haven't seen it, blind buys everything. It all comes from video libraries. So there you go. That's my thoughts on that. There will be a part 2 coming up pretty soon because I've got them all out here. I will talk about it again. And thanks for watching. You take care. And I'll see you on the next video. Cheers. And remember, please rewind.